BillMax offers an integration with a third-party taxing engine. Avalara is a software-as-a-service tool for tax calculations. BillMax will send transactions to Avalara with a TS pair and a place code. The TS pair identifies the transaction type and service type based on Avalara product mappings. The place code is the user or service location where billing will occur. Integration requires an agreement with Avalara so that each customer will have its own username, password, and client ID for Avalara API calls. There are several steps in setup to use Avalara. Begin by logging in as a BillMax user with configuration permissions. Go to the System Administration menu and find the Avalara Tax Service settings. Begin by pressing General. This is where you will need your username and password from your Avalara agreement as well as your client ID. You will begin with an endpoint in the sandbox, and taxing will begin as disabled during setup and enabled during test. The tax engine will begin as not active during setup and then will move to active when you are ready for testing or to go live. Next, work on mapping your TS pairs. Underneath System Administration, go to Download TS Mappings. You can choose products without TS pairs or all products. You will want to create a spreadsheet of these products that need to be mapped. You're going to cut and paste all the products that need to be mapped into Avalara's mapping worksheet. Then, based on the products, you will want to choose what's appropriate for the transaction type and the service type. Avalara provides a drop-down list as you begin. Continue until all products are mapped. When you save the file, make sure that you save it as a CSV. Note that some items may not have tax involved, and so you can set them to 0, 0 for no tax, no tax. Go back to System Administration and you can upload your TS mappings. The mappings are completed. Choose the file and upload it into BillMax. You will be able to see your TS pairs under System Administration, TS pairs. The other piece that needs to be taken into consideration is whether you're charging late fees. If you are charging late fees, every single line needs a late fee transaction pair set. If you find that you need a new TS pair in the future, you can always come back to the TS pair list and add a new TS pair. If you're adding a new product, then you can set the product using TS pairs that you have currently available to you. If it is a VoIP product, make sure that you set the features and tell BillMax, is it a 911 phone line, a private line, a toll-free line, and a premium line, so it will know what type of taxing is needed. If it is a PBX, you will also need to set the TS pairs for the PBS trunk, the outbound channel, and the extension. There are TS pairs for each individual charge that should be set accordingly. There are important settings on the virtual company. Go to Billing Administration, Virtual Companies. Choose the virtual company to get started. You will see a new display box labeled Avalara Tax Service Options. The client profile ID will remain 0 unless you have set up a profile at Avalara. Profiles are used for customizations for a request of the Avalara tax engine. The company identifier, that would be how you identify this virtual company within Avalara. So if you're using more than one virtual company and you want to be able to identify that for reporting purposes. If you are an ILIC, choose yes, otherwise choose no. What type of primary phone service do you offer, local or long distance? Are you facilities based? No if you're an ISP, yes if you're a cable operator or a telephone company. Do you operate under a franchise agreement? Are you regulated? Do you want to be able to return non-billable items? Tax presentation can be done in one of two ways: by the tax name, so maybe the city, state, county, etc., or by category. Categories might show such as sales and use taxes, connectivity charges, and regulatory charges. The default is by category. Do you require the lat and long for a place code? The last two are how are you doing the reporting? Safe harbor, traffic study, or your actual CDRs. In addition to the TS pairs on each product, it is essential that each customer, each user, has a place code. That is a location identifier for Avalara. To begin, go to System Administration, Batch Processing. Look for Avalara Geo Batch and run the process in order to retrieve a place code for all user and service locations. You can check the log files for errors. Go to System Administration Log Files, go to the Other tab, and look for the Avalara GeoBatch. If there are any errors, they would be reported here. There are no errors. After the initial run, you should set the batch job to run nightly. Place codes are refreshed monthly 2 days before billing occurs, so you will want to activate that batch job. Note that closed users are ignored and only errors are reported. To check and make sure you have a place code for all users, go to System Administration, User Place Codes, and run the report. If you have any users with missing place codes, there would be a list here. Then you would update the user with a valid lat long or update to a valid address and try to get a place code. The user place code information is stored under tax information, and you will see the place code that's currently listed as well as the next update. City taxes can be affected if a user is inside or outside the city limits. The default comes from Avalara but can be overridden here on the user. During the transition period, there may be pending transactions that have missing data. To find those transactions, go to System Administration, Pending Transactions. Run the report. You will get a list of transactions that exist in the system that need a TS pair or a place code. You need to make sure that all BillMax products are defined and have a TS pair associated with it. When that has been completed, you can run the report and then update any transactions that are listed here based on the TS pairs of the product definitions. Another option also is after you have done that, you should have a shorter list, and then you can check the place codes for those transactions and the TS pair for those transactions. You also have this convenience factor where you can set the pending sales to a tax of 00. No tax will be assessed for these transactions. Before you think you are finished with the Avalara setup, there are some settings on individual accounts that you should be aware of. In the taxes and fees display box, the tax computation defaults to by invoice, but you can do individual transactions. If needed, it's recommended by Avalara to do invoice in most cases. Tax designation, there is a new setting to default the tax designation automatically as part of the account profile. You can modify that if you need to or add to it, like Lifeline, Senior Citizen, Industrial. The place code is typically the first user. If that needs to be modified, you can set that here as well. If there is a tax or fee that should not be passed through, then you can set that as well. If you have collected tax exemption certificates, you will want to set up a Avalara tax exemption as well. The status should be active. Choose the place code that is appropriate. Choose the category ID if the location is exempted for all taxes and fees of a category. So sales and use, for example. Otherwise, if the scope is a particular level of tax, you can set that by setting the text type and the scope. The type is defaulted to tax exemption. Some accounts may have a negotiation so that a fee is not passed through, so you would set that to no pass through. This concludes the Avalara integration overview. If you have any issues or questions as you work through, please don't hesitate to reach out to support@BillMax.com. Thank you.